Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at a book I think almost everyone feels like they know, Pride and Prejudice.
Right, but our mission here is to go way beyond the plot points you might remember from the movies.
Exactly. We're digging into the classic texts around the novel, the biographical stuff, the critical insights,
To really figure out why it still has such a hold on us, 2 centuries later.
and the origin story is, from what the sources say, really unique. It kind of explains everything.
It does. It's a perfect place to start. So the novel was first conceived really early.
It's called First Impressions then, wasn't it? Around 1796.
Yes, and Miss Austen was barely 21.
Mm-hmm.
So what you have is this fresh and vigorous projection of youth, just pure energy.
But, and this is the key detail, the book we all know wasn't actually published until 1813.
A 17-year gap. That's a huge amount of time. She basically put it in a drawer and came back to it much later in life to, as the sources say, revise and finish it.
So it's like a collaboration. You've got the fiery imagination of a 20-year-old on one side.
And the cool, critical editing eye of a nearly 40-year-old on the other.
And that's what gives it the edge.
Precisely. The critics are very clear that this blending of youthful vitality with mature self-correction gives the book its distinct superiority in point of construction. It's polished, but it never loses that initial spark.
And what's interesting is where that maturity focuses its attention. The sources insist it's not about creating a perfect plot.
Absolutely not. They even suggest that a badly built book might be way better than a faultless plot acted and told by puppets.
Because the puppets have no life.
Exactly. The real genius, the thing that makes Austen imperishable, is the character, the humor, and her unanimous command of dialogue.
So the book lasts because we recognize the voices. It's not just the events. Okay, let's jump right into those voices then, starting with the beautiful chaos of the Bennet family.
And you have to begin with Mrs. Bennet. Her whole life's purpose, her business, was getting her daughters married. She's the engine of the entire plot.
Driven by pure anxiety.
Pure social and financial anxiety, yes. And Mr. Bennet provides this wonderful, dark, witty counterbalance to her.
Especially when it comes to her poor nerves.
Oh, yes. When she's complaining about them, he has this brilliant line. He says he respects her nerves because, and I just love this, they are my old friends. I have heard you mention them with consideration these 20 years at least.
20 years. That one line tells you everything about the atmosphere in that house. Now, let's talk about the daughters. The source analysis really singles out two of them for some pretty harsh judgment. We have to start with poor Mary.
Mary, she's the forgotten one, isn't she? The sources say she's treated more unkindly by Austen than any of the others.
That less pains were taken with her character.
Right, and we even know from Austen's private notes that she doomed Mary to marry one of Mr. Phillips's clerks.
Not exactly a fairy tale ending.
Not at all. And her defining trait isn't her plainness or anything like that. It's her effort. She's constantly trying to seem learned, copying and then retailing moral sentiments.
And studying thorough base and human nature.
Right, and thorough base is this incredibly complex musical theory. The whole point is she's trying to master things that are just beyond her grasp, and it makes her sound so heavy-handed.
The definition of trying too hard. But then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Elizabeth. Lizzie.
Yes, the critics put her in the allegro or allegra division. She's the cheerful, quick-paced one.
Her charm is described as this combination of playfulness, her wit, her affectionate and natural disposition. But the sources say there's one quality that really sets her apart.
A certain fearlessness.
That's her defining feature.
It is. That's what stops her from ever being in speechless awe of the magnificent Darcy.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about his status or his money. She judges him by how he behaves, which for the time was a pretty radical idea.
Okay, and if we're talking about character masterpieces, we absolutely have to spend some time on Mr. Collins.
Oh, Mr. Collins. He might just be the greatest achievement of Austen's humor. Critics call him imperishable, even more real than hundreds of prime ministers.
That is high praise. What makes him so real?
It's this perfect, awful mixture. He's a mixture of pride and obsequiousness, self-importance, and humility.
So he's pompous and groveling at the same time.
Exactly. He has this unbelievable self-regard, but he's constantly scraping and bowing to his patroness, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. It's a personality you still see everywhere today, the ultimate social climber.
Right. Okay, let's use him as a jumping off point to the early conflicts, where you really see this clash between principle and brutal pragmatism.
The first ball sets it all up perfectly. You get Mr. Bingley amiable, dances every dance.
And then you get Mr. Darcy, instantly labeled the proudest, most disagreeable man in the room.
And he just seals his fate with that one moment of unbelievable arrogance, which Elizabeth overhears.
The line about how dancing with any other woman would be a punishment to me?
Awful. Just awful. And it's that kind of pride, that open display of social superiority that creates the perfect contrast for Elizabeth's friend, Charlotte Lucas.
Right, because Charlotte offers this really chilling but pragmatic philosophy on marriage.
She represents the economic reality that Elizabeth is trying so hard to ignore. Her argument is basically that, well, that a woman had better show more affection than she feels.
Because you have to lock it down.
You have to lock it down. She says there's so much gratitude or vanity in every attachment that it's just not safe to leave any to itself.
Yeah.
You can't wait for true love to blossom.
It's so cynical. It's like a business transaction. Manage the asset before it depreciates.
That's a perfect way to put it. It completely strips the romance away.
Yeah.
And we see her put this philosophy into action almost immediately.
Just 3 days after Elizabeth furiously rejects Mr. Collins,
Charlotte accepts him.
knowing full well how ridiculous he is.
But she doesn't care. She wants a comfortable home. The sources point out that she thinks her chance of happiness is as fair as most people can boast. It's not a cry of joy. It's a grim acceptance of her limited options.
For Charlotte, stability is happiness. And for Elizabeth, that's a total betrayal, which just fuels her principles even more, right? It sets up the big confrontation with Darcy.
It does. She is. She is high on her own sense of discernment when she rejects Darcy's first proposal.
And she has her reasons, or what she thinks are reasons, his role in ruining Jane's happiness.
And of course, the reported cruelty he showed to the oh-so-charming Mr. Wickham.
And this is where the whole novel just turns on a dime.
It really is the emotional climax. Darcy's letter of defense completely shatters Elizabeth's world. It forces her to see how wrong she's been about everything.
It's a huge shock. The sources detail 2 major bombshells in that letter about Wickham. What was the first one, the financial one?
Darcy explains that Wickham wasn't some poor victim. He'd been offered the church living, but he chose to take a cash payout instead. A pretty big one, £3,000.
Which he then just squandered.
Squandered on reckless living, yes. So he traded his future security for a quick payday. But that's not even the worst of it. The truly damning revelation was about Darcy's own sister, Georgiana Darcy, who was only 15 or 16 years old at the time. Wickham pursued her relentlessly, planning to elope, and his motives were just purely evil.
It was revenge against Darcy, and it was about the money.
Her £30,000 fortune.
Yeah.
Yes. He wasn't just a charming rogue. He was a predator, targeting a child for money and revenge.
Wow. And for Elizabeth, who had basically put this guy on a pedestal, that must have been a gut punch.
It was. The self-reproach is immediate. She realizes she's been blind, partial, prejudiced, absurd. She has to face the fact that she, who prided herself on her judgment.
For discernment.
Exactly. She let herself be completely fooled by a handsome face and a smooth story. She let Wickham's countenance, voice, and manner convince her he was a hero because he told her what she already wanted to believe about Darcy.
So her greatest strength was actually her greatest weakness. And that forces her onto this path of redemption, which, strangely enough, starts with a visit to Pemberley.
That visit is so crucial because there she meets the housekeeper, Mrs. Reynolds.
And Mrs. Reynolds is this unimpeachable character witness. Elizabeth can't just dismiss her testimony.
Right. And how does she describe this supposedly proud, awful Mr. Darcy?
As the sweetest-tempered, most generous-hearted boy in the world.
And a liberal master, Elizabeth Chesmark. She can't reconcile this image of a kind, beloved landlord with the arrogant man she knew.
She's just starting to see him in a new light when, of course, another disaster strikes.
Lydia
Elopes with Wickham. The family is facing total ruin.
Complete social ruin.
Yeah.
Especially because Wickham has these massive debts hanging over him, pressing debts of honor.
And we should clarify, debts of honor sounds noble, but it's not.
No, not at all. It means gambling debts. And if you didn't pay those, you were finished. An absolute outcast. So the family knows Wickham will never marry Lydia without some kind of intervention. She'll be disgraced forever.
And this crisis is what reveals Darcy's true character. He goes from being this proud, aloof figure to a secret hero.
The revelation is just astonishing. We only find out later that Darcy's the one who tracked him down in London.
He found out Wickham never planned to marry her at all.
Never. So Darcy steps in. He pays off all of Wickham's gambling debts. He buys him a commission in the army. And he settles more money on Lydia to basically force the marriage and save the Bennet family's honor.
An incredible act of generosity. And he does it all anonymously. Why? Why did he insist on keeping it a secret?
And this, I think, is the most telling detail about his transformation. Darcy explains that he felt responsible for the whole mess.
Responsible. How?
He says his own reserve and want of proper consideration, basically his pride and his standoffishness, was what allowed Wickham's true character to be so misunderstood in the first place.
So he's blaming himself for not warning people about Wickham.
Exactly. He's not just saving the Bennets, he's correcting his own past mistakes. And that act of humility is what finally truly wins Elizabeth over. But not before one last glorious interruption.
Ah, yes. Lady Catherine de Bourgh arrives.
She storms in, ready to use all her social power to crush this potential engagement.
She is just beside herself with outrage. She starts insulting Elizabeth's family, her connections, asking if the shades of Pemberley are to be thus polluted.
And she demands a promise.
Right.
She demands that Elizabeth promise she will never marry Darcy.
And this confrontation, which was designed to destroy any hope of them getting together,
Ends up being the very thing that makes it happen.
how did that backfire so completely?
Well, Darcy confesses later that Elizabeth's refusal to make that promise was what gave him hope.
Really?
Yes, he knew her well enough by then. He knew her frankness would have made her say no immediately if she still hated him. So by refusing to promise, she was basically admitting her feelings had changed.
So Lady Catherine's aggressive pride is what gives him the courage to propose again. That's incredible.
It's the final perfect irony. And this leads to Elizabeth's own realization about her feelings.
She concludes that her affection is logical.
It is. She says that if gratitude and esteem are good foundations of affection, then her change of heart makes perfect sense. She finally sees that the man she thought was the proudest person alive is actually perfectly amiable and without any improper pride.
So what a deep dive. We've seen how the novel's structure was born from a unique collaboration. We've unmasked Wickham, understood Charlotte's pragmatism, and we've tracked Darcy's transformation from villain to hero.
I think the main takeaway for you, for the learner, has to be about questioning your own certainty. Elizabeth prided herself on her discernment, on her ability to see the truth.
And it turned out to be her biggest blind spot.
Her biggest blind spot. She trusted appearances and her own prejudice, and it led her to idolize a complete scoundrel and despise the most honorable man she'd ever met.
And in the end, her marriage isn't saved by her famous wit. It's saved by the unbending principle of the man she despised and by the absolute chaos caused by her own family.
So we'll leave you with a final thought. What is one piece of knowledge you are absolutely certain of right now? A person you judged, a belief you hold dear. What is one thing you should probably revisit and question? Because sometimes the person you think is your enemy might just be the one working quietly behind the scenes for your own good.